Marc Freedman has a purpose. As managing partner and co-founder of Evolved Profits, he and his team have over 40 years of experience in helping businesses free up cash so that it can be reinvested into helping employees, growing the business, and creating positive social impact. He is a serial entrepreneur, CEO, and the best-selling author of Expense to Profit: Eliminate the Costs That Sabotage Your Growth. Marc loves helping companies create more profits while being an agent for change. This is his purpose, and in an effort to help more companies and more people, Marc, along with co-host Yanik Silver, author of Evolved Enterprise, bring you Profits with Purpose, a podcast that aims to do just that. On the show, Marc and Yanik talk to successful corporate decision makers, exploring valuable lessons learned, experiences in growing a company, ways to reduce expenses, and all the ways a company can have a positive social impact. Join us each week and get in on the discussion so we can all have more profits with purpose. And now, here's your host, Marc Freedman.
Welcome to Profits with Purpose. Today's guest is Laura Spaulding. She's the owner and president of Spaulding Decon, the first nationally franchised decontamination service to offer crime scene, hoarding, and meth-lab cleanup throughout the United States. Before founding Spaulding Decon in 2005, she served in the U.S. Army and spent 7 years in law enforcement working narcotics and vice in Kansas City's toughest neighborhoods. Using a $15,000 home equity loan, she began the company as its only employee, cleaning crime scenes by herself for the first year. In 2006, she hired her first employees and expanded her service to include meth labs and hoarding sites. Since then, her leadership has helped the company grow by 50% every year. In 2015, her decision was to franchise Spaulding Decon, which allows Spaulding to continue to meet the growing national demand for professional decontamination services. We'll get into that a little bit later. Laura has covered a niche, a recession-proof market, thus laying a foundation of success for Spaulding Decon and its investors. Laura, welcome to Profits with Purpose.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So let's talk about your background and how you ended up cleaning up meth labs.
Yeah, it's pretty unique. It's kind of a chicken and the egg type thing. Went from military to college to law enforcement. And law enforcement is actually kind of where I got the idea. I was working undercover narcotics and doing some extremely high risk things. And I had one of those come to Jesus moments where I was like, am I really risking my life for $38,000 a year? And it was an easy answer. And that's kind of when I started to look at, there's a bigger world out there and I need to figure it out. But I hit the wall pretty quickly when I realized that law enforcement has no transferable skills to anything else. So I was really in a bad spot.
Well, I guess security services, is one that it transfers to, but outside of that,
yeah,
I don't think I think you're right. There's not much.
Yeah. So the only thing I was being offered at that time was to go with private security companies over to Iraq. And that didn't sound like a good option as a female in a country that, it's not so much respectful of that. So I thought, you know what, I'm in big trouble. I probably should maybe get some more education and figure out what I want to do.
Wow. So let's talk about the biggest challenge to starting your own business and how you overcame it.
I look back and I think, how the heck did I make it through it? It was difficult, very, very difficult, mainly because living off, $38,000, $40,000 a year, there's not a lot left over there. There's not like, let's pay the bills and start stockpiling that savings account. It didn't work that way. I had a roommate on a $1,200 mortgage, and I needed every bit of that support because I had no savings. I never had more than $5,000 in my savings, so my options were very, very limited. And again, my skills weren't that great, so I went back to school at night and got my MBA. And I was kind of teetering between my MBA and law school. And honestly, the reason that I chose my MBA was because law school was 3 years and MBA was 2. So I was like, yep, that's a winner. That's a winner. And I'm grateful that I did. I would have not enjoyed being an attorney. But that kind of got my mind going, because I'm in a classroom with a bunch of other executives from a variety of different businesses. And I was the only one that was a civil servant. So my eyes were open to, banking and finance and investments and, all this different things. So, my mind's going, but I started to get real frustrated because I'm like, I need to find something that I like. I looked into franchising, of course, with less than $5,000. There's no options there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. Very limited at that level.
Yeah, not at all. I was stuck.
So I sense the compassion that you have, and it's obviously a strong motivator for your professional self. How does that serve your business?
Quite a bit, because now I'm in a different seat to where I can give people opportunities to come into this business as a franchisee that otherwise would have never had it. So it's empowering because I feel like I have a key to be able to give somebody that's highly motivated, highly ambitious, and just needs a chance. And I want to be that person to give them that chance.
So cool. So obviously starting the business and then doing a pivot to allow other people the chance. And really, I guess, is there some factor that happens, something that happening, that made you decide that, hey, this model of what we're doing is a real good franchise opportunity to help others who, like yourself, were really in I still find it hard to believe that you were in Vice getting paid $38,000 a year, risking your life the way you are in that undercover operation. To me, it's just like, that's another.
It's insanity. It really is insanity that you would pay people that little. And I had some really close calls. I really did. It was some very scary moments. Most people think, when you're out buying narcotics undercover, that you have, a giant SWAT team behind you and, all of these high-tech things. I had no gun and no wire. So it was me and them. And I had a partner. We always worked in twos, but I had some very close calls. And I'm grateful for the experience because I have so much respect for people that are putting their life on the line every day so that we as citizens, common citizens, don't have to deal with it.
Wow. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. But there was some moments that was, but, there was multiple moments though, like living in poverty. When I was in college, I was on food stamps because I couldn't afford to pay college and live at the same time, pay for books and all that. So I had to go on food stamps to get through college. And that was hard, because I'm with my friends and I'm having to go to a grocery store completely on the opposite side of town because I was embarrassed. Back then it was still the actual paper that looked like looked like a different form of currency. Essentially, now they have cards, but and I'm over there in the poor neighborhoods doing that, and I was embarrassed, but I didn't have any other options. I wouldn't have made it through college without it.
Wow, a blessing and a curse, right?
Absolutely. I'm grateful for that experience, though.
So here's kind of a funky question for you.
Yeah.
Is Breaking Bad your favorite television show?
It is one of my top 5.
Is it really?
And I'll tell you why. Not only because of the plot on it, I find it the most factually accurate of any type of drug type show that I've ever seen.
Oh, pretty cool. I mean, it's nice to hear that there is reality in sometimes the not so reality type television shows.
Yeah.
But that's.
Did you see that show?
Of course.
Yeah. Did you?
I'm originally from Potomac, Maryland, and Baltimore is 45 minutes away. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So let's talk about competition in your space. Is there? Because, like I said before we got on, it's like I didn't realize that something like this is narrow focused.
Yeah.
I understand the going in and the cleaning up crime scenes and stuff like this, but yours is really focused on specific market niches.
It is. So the answer to that is kind of twofold. It's yes and no. So there's competition in a couple of verticals that we have. So there's other companies, obviously, that do crime scene cleanup. It's typically very fragmented, kind of mom and pop-ish. There's obviously companies that do flood restoration, mold remediation, or drug lab cleanup. But the combination of all of them in addition to the real estate buying, makes us the only one in the country.
Kind of neat.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, about your franchise and your franchisees and how you combine this and get into the distressed real estate marketplace, I guess, as a result of what you're doing.
Exactly. So that kind of came a little bit later. So we started doing the real estate vertical in 2016. And that was another one of those things that smacked me in the head. Sometimes I just have to be smacked in the head to come up with a great idea. But one of our clients basically said, listen, I need you to clean this house. It was a massive hoarder because I need to sell it and get out. The HOA is on me. They're fining me. I can't do it. And it just popped in my head. I said, well, I'd be interested in buying it, thinking, what the heck did I just say? I'm looking at this and there's roaches and rats and it was just disgusting, right? And her eyes just got huge, and she was with her mother there, and her mother immediately, well, we're interested. How much would you give us for it? And I said, well, let me run some comps. Let me see what it's worth, because I have no idea. And I'll come back to you. So I go back to my office and I'm crunching numbers, and I come up with an offer of $5,000. And I'm looking and I'm thinking, there's no way they'll take this. No way on earth. So I call them up and I said, hey, I came up with an offer, don't feel obligated. I mean, I'm still happy to help you clean up your place and stuff, but I can only offer you $5,000 because the place has to be gutted down to the studs. This was the cost of everything at that time. She said, where can we sign? How quick can we close? And I said, oh shit, now I got to do something. Yeah. So, we closed super quick. Obviously, I had $5,000. I didn't have to go borrow that for once in my life. And now the problem became mine. So I started rehabbing it, put about $18,500 into it, and then flipped it for $65,000.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was my first experience. Made a lot of mistakes, learned a lot, but then moved forward.
That's not a bad profit on making a mistake.
No, not at all. Not at all. I was happy with it.
So let's talk about, the franchise itself and your franchisees a little bit. And, are they like you? Are they, who are they? And how best do you help them as a franchisor?
Well, one of the hardest parts about franchising is you have so many different personalities, so many different backgrounds, and everybody has a different strength and weakness. So that was one of the things that I had to learn is running my business is completely different than running an entire franchise system. So I had to pivot a little bit, create some different systems to help a larger group of people. But it's also shocked me just how diverse everyone is. We've got people from nursing, we've got a deep sea diver, we've got military people, law enforcement, people that work sales for IBM. Like, it is so different. I couldn't tell you this is the perfect franchisee because they're all so different.
No avatar. No,
None.
This is the avatar. Wow.
And which is weird because some other brands are like, this is exactly what we want. And I'm like, oh boy, I wish I could. It would make my job a lot easier.
That's great. That's great. So it just still boggles my mind, this whole concept. And it is obviously the bread and butter is the crime scene and the meth labs and all that other stuff. How much with the real estate piece that you pivoted into by accident?
Yeah.
Is that becoming a larger piece now too? Or?
So to just give you an idea, it has become so large that my job is strictly real estate at this point. I've pivoted to teaching that, supporting the franchise partners with lending and rehabs and cost estimating. So my sole focus has shifted into the real estate side now.
And so all the real estate that you're buying, is that it's distressed because of these issues?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So you're not just going out there and speculating on real estate. No. You come in, you see an opportunity, say, hey, maybe we can do something. Got it.
Well, we give everybody an option. So, if it doesn't work for some people, that's great. But there is a large amount of people that maybe grandma and grandpa live in Florida, they live in Michigan, and she passes away. They don't want the house. So their end goal is to sell it anyway. So why pay for the cleanup, deal with the insurance company, hiring a realtor, all that? So it's easy for them to say, just take it off our hands so we can deal with the other parts of the estate. So it's really a win-win situation for everybody involved. And if it doesn't work for them, we'll just still clean it up for them.
Sure. Still win.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Maybe they want to keep it or move into it or, whatever.
Very interesting. So every business has expenses. What are the biggest expenses that a business like yours has?
Labor. Hands down, labor.
Sure.
It is a huge ticket item for us. We have historically always paid a lot more than every other company in the restoration industry, just because we're dealing with bloodborne pathogens, biohazards, meth labs, things like that. So when they were paying, $12 an hour with an average like water restoration company, we were paying 20. But now, as you can see, McDonald's is paying $15, $16 an hour. So we're paying even more than that to get good talent.
Wow. And I suspect that's still a challenge right now.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, and you're not alone, because
everybody's going through it from what I hear.
Right. It's been termed the Great Resignation. I'm not so sure that I agree with that. I just think people are, like you had an opportunity in your life where it's like, wait a minute, why am I risking my life for this small amount of money? Mm-hmm. What else can I do?
Yeah.
I think a lot of other people are doing the same thing. Was, why am I driving an hour and a half a day?
Exactly.
Back and forth, 3 hours. Look at, anyhow. So so I think a lot of people are resizing, is the way I call it, their life in what they're trying to do in life.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think again, businesses are pivoting to make their employees happy. Obviously, our field technicians can't work from home. You have to go to the customer site.
Right.
But all of our office staff, marketing team, media team, everybody can work from home or from the office at their will. We don't govern that. As long as you're performing and you're happy, that's all I care about.
Right. Makes 100% sense. I mean, and of course that's changing the dynamic in the commercial real estate space.
Yes, sir, it is.
We've got clients in our business that are in the commercial real estate space, and they're balancing with how's this all going to pan out? Because it's always been you had to come to the office.
Exactly.
Now it's you come to the office when?
Yeah.
Once a week, twice a week, once every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, it's gotten pretty flexible. So that's always, I think it's a positive thing. I think it's going to add a lot of value to people's lives. I agree. Because I think it's a lot less stressful as long as you have a good homework environment.
Yes. Absolutely. Well, plus with the transportation costs right now are out of control, ridiculous. And that's an undue burden that employees should not have to undertake just to get to work. Yeah.
Well, we can go in a lot of directions on that.
Yeah.
But we'll leave that one alone for now. Because we don't control it. So
no, we don't. We have to pivot, right?
Yep. So let's talk about, for us, our company, we put a very strong focus on positive social impact and how we can help impact the communities that we serve. Are there ways that you guys are doing that? And do you have some sort of a social impact component to the way your business works?
Yeah, we do. We have a couple. I think one of the first ones that kind of comes to mind is we have a huge social media presence. So what we decided to do was take an educational approach to what we do. And we do a lot of mental health awareness things because, we do have, suicides and homicides and some other death related stuff, tragic incidences. So we focus a lot on mental health, but also education, because one of the first things that smacked me in the face again when I started this business was that the general public thinks incorrectly that law enforcement cleans up after a scene, and that is not the case. So we had a huge hurdle to overcome. And the only way for us to do that to the masses was by social media. So I've gotten countless messages that I've saved that said, I watched your videos and I was going to take my life and now I'm not going to. Thank you so much. And that to me is worth it every single day.
Wow, that's really pretty cool.
Yeah, I love hearing those messages.
Yeah, that's really wonderful. So here's a good one. I love asking this question to people.
Yeah.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Wow. Never take advice from someone who is not where you want to be.
Interesting.
There's a lot of people that throw their advice out, and it's all Monday morning quarterback type stuff. They've never been there, so how can they provide advice? It's like me asking a heart surgeon, how to bake cakes. That's not the wheelhouse, right? So
Right.
choose your audience very carefully, because I've gotten some very bad advice over the years.
All right, let's talk about your franchising process
Okay.
at Spaulding Decon. And how does one go about, I guess, inquiring, becoming a candidate, and then going through the successful process of deploying the strategy and the process that you have set up?
Yeah, so we tried to streamline the process in, 5 steps or less. So essentially, if someone's looking in the franchise space, I would recommend at first you narrow down the field. Like if you want food, then obviously you just want to focus on food and you could do away with all service-based businesses because it's overwhelming. I think there's, God, like almost 5,000 different types of franchises in this country.
Right.
So if I'm thinking, man, I want a franchise, it could be overwhelming if I have no idea what I want to do. So I would narrow it down by what you want to do, your total investment, right? Because if you have $100,000, you're not qualified for a McDonald's, right? So, and if I have $5 million, I'm probably, not looking at baking cakes, just for example. So narrow it down first. Check out some websites. On all the websites, they will tell you kind of the requirements, what you need liquid. If you don't have the rest of it, you can borrow it, what the expectations are, the total investment. And then everybody has what's called a franchise disclosure document. That's
Sure.
essentially this thick document that's the meat and potatoes of it. It's so boring, right? But that's the best way. And then call a couple. So if you're interested in, food, call a couple sandwich places and see what you like the best. What model? There's going to be something very different about each model. So you want to investigate that. Does it fit with your lifestyle? Like, do you not want to work weekends? Maybe this sandwich place requires to be open 7 days a week. So maybe that's not a good fit for you. So I find that that's the best way to go. Don't always go to the one that's, the big bright lights, the McDonald's, for example, because that's not going to be a fit for everyone.
Mm.
There's a lot of other great, food places or whatnot that might fit your needs better.
Interesting. Very interesting. And then I guess with what you do, and I'll be honest with you, I mean, we looked at the franchise model ourselves
Mm-hmm.
for one of our businesses and whether or not it made sense. And when I looked at the burden, it is a burden.
It's a huge burden.
In the different states and the requirements, and like you said, the document.
Yep. You are correct.
To us, it made no sense to franchise it. We changed the model to just have partners.
Yes.
Rural partners instead, where they have their own brand. We may provide them all the data for their brand and all the the information for their brand, but let them have their own brand.
Yeah, Mark, and I think if I would have done my due diligence as well as you did, we probably wouldn't be sitting in this seat right now. Because, I jumped in very naively, and I didn't realize not only the capital investment, but the time investment is so huge. And the different states and the legal requirements and stuff. So I don't think most people realize how cumbersome the process is.
Yeah, it's definitely cumbersome. That's for
sure. Oh, yeah.
Anyhow, I mean, who knows? Maybe someday we'll franchise on the back end. But when we put this business together, we just decided a couple of years ago that it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense for us. That we thought we could accomplish the same thing without the brand.
Exactly.
Anyhow, but yeah, so cool. I mean, what you're doing is really unique for sure.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't realize that the restoration business could be that fraction, but it makes sense because when we look at things for clients, we'll say, well, we're going to look at your bank fees, and they'll say, well, okay, and they give us merchant fee statements. No, that's a separate category.
Yeah,
are different than bank fees, just like wireless is different than regular phone service. I mean, whatever. So so it's kind of cool, pretty cool, pretty neat.
Yeah, with the restoration field, I think the general public thinks automatically, hurricanes, floods, mold, and of course that is a big part of it. But I had a heavy hurdle to overcome with the lack of knowledge on the biohazard side. And then the inability to market like most people would market. We have to market in a very different way because it's such a sensitive subject.
Right. Pretty unique, pretty focused.
Yes.
But it's interesting, even though, you were in that field.
Yes.
Of law enforcement.
I had no idea. Embarrassingly enough, I had no idea.
Right. Well, if you're not in a lot of crime scene situations.
Well, I was, though. And that's the embarrassing part is I never said to myself when I left, what happens now? Because I was so robotic in what we were doing, and it's so precise to be able to make sure you're maintaining evidence and all that. I never gave it a thought until that woman asked me, when are you guys coming back to clean it up? And it was like deer in the headlights. I'd never been asked that. I was embarrassed. Yeah.
Hey, like you said, you have these moments that all of a sudden the light goes on and it's like, oh, I don't have to risk my life for this opportunity anymore.
Yeah. If I had $1 for every client that said, thank you, but I hope I never see you again. I'm like, oh God, if I had $1.
Wow, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So is there anything that I haven't mentioned that you want to talk about or touch on?
Yeah. So there's, my military experience and really kind of me trying to bring awareness to the huge sacrifice that veterans make by, giving up their time away from their families and stuff. So what we've done is we've created a program where once a year we give away a free franchise. And it's a $45,000 territory. And people apply from all over the country, whether they're getting out or maybe they're a reservist or whatever it might be. And then we pick the person that we feel fits our brand the best. And I have really, really enjoyed that. Not only meeting the veterans, but hearing their different stories and why do you want to be a business owner? Because it's not for everyone, as you know.
Sure.
Yeah. So that has been super fun.
Wow. That's so cool.
Yeah, I love it.
So cool. It's such a way to give back,
Yeah, absolutely. And not to a better group, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We have one more program.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The Hoarding Cleanup Giveaway. And what we do is, as a company, we have 55 locations right now. Many of them participate, some do not, if they're brand new or maybe just not in it. We give a free hoarding cleanup to a needy person. It's typically an elderly person, someone who can't help themselves, or someone who can't afford our services. And we get a bunch of vendors to join us. So maybe we'll paint their house, we'll deep clean it, we'll put new flooring in, whatever we're allowed to do based on their needs. We've done landscaping before. We donate the dumpsters. We do it 100% for free. And then we kind of follow up with them and document the process. But we pick somebody every year right before Christmas.
Wow. Well, this is what we talk about, profits with purpose.
Absolutely. And I'm grateful that I can give that at this point in my life. 20, 30 years ago, I'm on food stamps in a different grocery store. So I'm truly grateful to be able to give back.
So if listeners want to get in touch with you, we'll obviously put this in the show notes and stuff, but if they want to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
Yeah, our website is crimescenecleaning.com. Same name on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. If you're interested in kind of watching what we do, it's uncensored on YouTube. We have almost 1 million subscribers there. It's very educational. We teach you the chemicals that we use. We're an open book, and it's Crime Scene Cleaning on YouTube.
Cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. Wow. So, Laura, I want to thank you. This has really been very insightful, very interesting.
It's my pleasure, Marc.
I hope people reach out to you. And I want to thank you for your service.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Profits with Purpose. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you are interested in reducing the expenses of your business, creating positive social impact, or contributing to the show, reach out to Marc or Yanik with Evolved Profits by emailing podcast@evolvedprofits.com or visiting the website www.evolvedprofits.com.